There's an interesting thing that I think in this work that we look at quite often, and it's not exactly a systemic issue, but it's the interruption of the reaching out movement. And there's several things that happen, several very important things that happen at birth. And one of them is it's an interesting reticulating process. They discovered that animals lick their infants not to clean them, but to activate the brain. The licking stimulates and begins to activate the reticular functions of the brain. And so even that urge to stroke an infant is a very ancient urge to get the brain and the neural activity started in the brain. It's a jump start. And so that's one of the things that happens at birth, and the other is the beginning of the bonding. And if there's any trauma, so you think a little bit of an infant coming out, and their first movement is one of reaching out, like, okay, catch me, kind of almost a catch me feeling. And if something interrupts that, they very, very quickly withdraw. And Hellinger says when he sees a movement, a continual movement of going towards something that you want, almost getting there, and then backing away from it, and then picking something else, going toward it, almost getting there, backing away from it. When you see this, he says it's the basis of all neuroses. I like that. So you see this is an interruption of the reaching out movement. It was incomplete. And if we can once, in our brain, complete the movement and be taken, the neurological, the sort of freaky nerve endings can finally settle down.
Sometimes you can get into trouble with people who are looking for that neediness, that they're willing to see what you just described, but they're willing to use it. So that brings people back to putting up boundaries and they don't get it resolved. Can you talk to that?
Bert Hellinger calls those vampires. Right? I think if I have it right, there are people who feed off other people's neediness to satisfy their own neediness. And that's a very dangerous situation. And it is most of our psychotherapeutic world, unfortunately. I make a strong statement here. Yeah? And they don't know they do it. It's not an intentional evil. It's not an intentional hurtful thing. But you think of codependency and you think of a lot of different issues. And if I have to have you and your neediness in order for me to feel okay as a therapist, we're both in trouble. And we both lose strength.